Hello, bonjour Alberta. Did you know that at least 238,000 people speak Français in Alberta? And those numbers just keep on growing? Oui, oui, c'est vrai, it's true. And thanks to Shaw TV Community Access Programming, we get to reach out to everyone to let you know all about special people, places, events, and activities happening right here in this great province, in both English and en français. That's right, mes amis. We begin the first part of our program in English, and then we repeat it en français. So stay with us. Restez à l'écoute.
Welcome once again to Hello, Bonjour, Alberta. I'm Anne Boiteau.
And I'm Marc Lalonde,
your host for this episode. And tonight we have a very interesting story to tell you with Lena and Robert Schuett. And this couple learned French together, almost, and are from different backgrounds, and will tell us their very interesting story. So let's start with your backgrounds. Lena, you're from Germany?
I am. I'm from Hanover. Okay. It's in the north of Germany. This is where I grew up and went to school. I went to University in Bremen, which is also in the north of Germany. I studied English, French, and education to become a teacher. And then I guess I went on and I was practicing, my languages throughout my studies. And once I was done, I left to go to Montreal.
Why did you do that?
I studied English and French, and then I wanted to improve both my foreign languages, so English and French, and teach German at the same time. So I made my first, experiences teaching, and Montreal was the perfect city, a bilingual city. I thought this is perfect for my English, for my French. I was teaching German at a Francophone cégep, which was a great experience.
Did your parents speak another language, or did you just speak German at home?
Just German at home, but in Germany everybody learns English at school, and a lot of students learn a second language as well. So in my case that was French. So I learned it at school but didn't speak it at home.
Tell them about how much the Germans love Canada.
They do. They do. The Germans do love Canada.
Montreal was a popular destination for all the Germans that were coming.
Yeah, you know what it's like this exotic country, rivers and canoes and, French and English and, lots of just positive things you know kind of or you guess about Canada. So for me going and making that step and actually going to Canada was like one of the, amazing adventures for me as a German, citizen, and then everybody was supportive of it, so that was a big step, but it was good. It was exciting.
You forgot about all the Canadian men.
Of course. This is the real reason why.
God, now she's married to a Canadian man.
That's true.
But you
Forget about the others.
You do hear a lot of German being spoken in Banff and in the mountains.
Yes,
and,
a lot of German.
Big German colonies, especially in
There's
Alberta.
that too. Yes, in Alberta, lots of German colonies. You bet.
And Robert, you're not German.
No,
From a
little less exotic. Born and raised here in Calgary. I went to school at U of C. I studied political science. I was involved in politics when I was growing up. My family was involved in politics. And actually, one of the reasons I moved out to Quebec is because I finished my degree, and having that influence, the political influence, I thought, I don't even speak French. I'm a little embarrassed that I don't speak French. So I thought, I had heard about these programs. My sister was involved in programs when she was younger.
Summer exchange.
Exactly, the summer exchange programs. And I had done one earlier on in my degree. So I thought, okay, I've finished my degree and I'm just sitting around working here, not really doing much. So I might as well move out to Quebec and I can learn how to speak French. So I went out there, did another. My dad said it's the best thing I've ever done.
Yes.
Second best maybe. No, it was. I went out there for a summer program and then stuck around for the rest of the year and participated. It just kind of snowballed into more programs and more time spent out there.
So did you live in Montreal mostly?
Sorry, no. My first year out there, I lived in a little town called Saint-Raymond-de-Portneuf. It's northwest of Quebec City, about an hour or so, 45 minutes to an hour, and lived out there. I lived with this a nice French couple, and their kids had grown up and moved to Montreal, so they had room for me, and I stayed and lived with them, and really they taught me how to speak French. So I felt like one of their kids. I still feel like one of their kids. We call them and try to get in touch with them as often as we can. So. After that, I then moved to Quebec City, and that's where Lena and I met.
That's where we met.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So after I did my year in Montreal teaching German, I was asked by the Ministry of Education for the same kind of program, so for a language assistant program, to move to Quebec City and work for the government there, for the ministry. And I happily accepted. I just planned to go there for a year, to stay in Canada for a year, and then I'm like, I love the province of Quebec, and I love speaking French and living in a francophone environment, and this is a great opportunity. So I moved to Quebec City, and this is where Robbie and I met, because he was working for the Ministry of Education as well. So we're both responsible for language assistant programs.
I did the Canadian portion, and Lena did the German and French.
The German, French.
The European.
Yeah, the European
side of it.
So we ended up working, next to each other.
And I showed up on the first day, and I looked around, and I thought, oh, who am I working with? And I looked over at the elevator, and the elevator opened up, and this walked out, and I thought,
This
as in,
gorgeous woman.
okay, how do I get to know her? So,
But with your friend.
exactly. It was actually a little difficult. It was complicated trying to talk in French, and when you're speaking French, it's different accents. So she had a European accent. My French still wasn't very good, but I've definitely lived in a small little Quebec town for my whole French experience.
Not
so exactly. So speaking French to Lena was, a little bit difficult sometimes. So,
but that was the intriguing part, right? To meet an Anglophone Canadian who came all the way out there and kind of understands his responsibility as a Canadian citizen to be bilingual. And I guess right there I was intrigued, and I'm like, okay, I like this guy. I like where he's coming from. I like the language influence and the role languages play. So I guess then we learned and improved.
I took her out for dinner as often as I could, and
and then you decided that maybe Quebec City wasn't where you wanted to live. You wanted to try another city in Canada.
We actually lived there for quite a while. I lived there for 7 years, I think.
Wow.
I actually ended up going back to law school out there. I did my civil law degree at Laval University. During this whole process, this 7-year process, Lena had actually registered for her PhD again. So she was back and forth to Germany quite often, living, I would say, most of the time in Quebec.
Yeah.
But there was probably a couple of years in there.
You know what? I went back and did my teacher's training to be a modern language teacher, so English, French, and then I was teaching German in Quebec. But I went back for that and then started my PhD, and it was a lot back and forth. But I finally joined Robbie again in Quebec City, where he finished his studies at Laval University. And
then, the law in Canada is complicated, so we finished the law degree at Laval, and then I had to do my common law, so we moved out to Victoria, which is extremely beautiful, and you're going to get a lot of German-speaking people out in Victoria as well. There was a lot of Germans out there.
And while moving out there, we went on an RV trip and saw the country and experienced everybody should have in their life to travel Canada. Mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful,
yeah, we
beautiful
camped.
trip.
We
So
took 2
where
weeks and camped
did you
across.
get married?
In
Which
Germany.
province?
In Germany.
Oh, in Germany.
In Germany.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
So it was the summer while we were living out in Victoria. We actually flew back to Germany. My family from Calgary and a couple of our friends from Canada, from Quebec, and the rest of the country, all flew to Germany. And
yeah, you know what? And one of the reasons my grandma is so old to fly, and so we said we do it in Germany, and then not far from my hometown there is this castle called Marienburg. And then we're like,
beautiful castle.
Beautiful, beautiful. And then we thought, if we do, you know, a German wedding, we might as well go like for an old building. And so we went with this old castle, beautiful.
Wow.
It's really quite stunning.
It was just, you know, like
Fairy
one
tale.
of those
Yeah,
fairy tale weddings, you know.
Did you have to wear the whole armor and the whole thing?
Not quite. Not quite.
Yeah. So how did you end up here then with all of that?
So once again, my studies have kind of moved us across the country, I guess. So after I finished my law degree at UVic, I applied for a few jobs in different places, and it was a little bit tougher in Vancouver. My father's a lawyer out here, and he's got his own law firm, so that was kind of the easy choice. So,
Dad, take me on, please. I need an arting job.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I had been hearing stories. Some of my friends in Quebec were having a really tough time, so I thought, okay, I applied to a few places, wasn't getting a lot of feedback, so we moved back to Calgary. And I've been working in my dad's law firm since, and it's been a great experience.
We've only got about a minute left. We'd really like to know what you're up to now. I understand you have an interesting political position also?
Yeah, so I'm actually currently the president of the Liberal Party of Canada in Alberta. So that's the federal politics, not the provincial side.
Okay.
And that has lots of interesting stuff going on all the time. We're always campaigning and doing lots of stuff and welcoming Justin Trudeau to town and doing all sorts of stuff like that. So
especially in an election year,
exactly,
it gets really, really busy, I guess.
Keep an eye out. He'll be here for a few times, I think, over the next little while.
You're still finishing that PhD, are you?
You know what? I just handed in my PhD, and I have my defense in the mid of June. So it's my PhD in education, second language acquisition programs. And so I will go back to Germany for that defense, and then hopefully we'll start working at a great university by September.
So your defense is in Germany?
In Germany. I study at the University of Bremen.
But you have to defend it in German?
I have to defend it in German.
But she wrote it in English.
In English, my second language. Well, actually my third language, to be fair. But so I wrote it in English. It took me a long time. It was hard, a hard process, but it was such an interesting journey, like comparing Canada and Germany in their second language acquisition programs, and out of an international perspective, which was very interesting, and just being in this international setting, and advancing education and trying to make education and second language acquisition a better place. So. So that's where my spirit is.
Interesting, eh? I would love to read, maybe not the whole thing, huge, but certain portions of your. Oh my God. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We really, really enjoyed this interview.
Thank you for having us.
And for all of you out there, please stay with us. We continue en français.